My husband is dead, and my son is fighting for his life in the ICU. That's what I told them. That's what broke my voice on the phone. And my mother, without missing a beat, sighed and said, "But it's your sister's birthday. Don't make everything about you." My father's voice slid in after hers. "We'll call you later. Don't be dramatic." Then silence. No tears. No concern. No, we're on our way. Just their loyalty to the golden child, polished and shining even while I bled out on the other end of the line. My name is Isabella Hart, 32 years old. And if you think you've heard cruelty before, wait until you hear what came next. Because what happens when grief collides with greed? When the people you call family turn into scavengers circling your sorrow? I'll tell you. I hung up. I sat in the hospital waiting room, staring at the linoleum floor, holding my husband's wedding band in my fist, so tight it cut into my palm. My boy was hooked up to tubes, machines keeping him alive. And they were eating cake, blowing candles, posting smiling pictures with captions about family love. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I let the silence curl around me like a knife. But inside, a quiet vow began to take root. Because a week later, when they finally showed up at my door, not with flowers, not with apologies, but with outstretched hands demanding 50% of the settlement, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't going to end the way they thought it would. This was the beginning of their unraveling. And I would be the one holding the thread. They stood on my porch as if they owned it. My father in his golf jacket, my mother in her pearls. No condolences. No soft words. Just a sharp, calculated demand. The insurance settlement, Mom said, like she was asking for a slice of pie. 50% for us. 30% for your sister. That leaves you with enough. Enough? Enough after burying my husband? Enough after watching my son hooked to beeping machines that decided whether he'd breathe? I stared at them. Their eyes didn't even flicker toward the framed photo of my family inside the hallway. Didn't even glance at the black dress hanging on the coat rack. They weren't here for me. They were here for money. I said nothing. My silence made them fidget, but Dad puffed out his chest. "Isabella, don't make this ugly. We supported you for years. Now it's your turn. Don't be selfish." Supported? I had been working 2 jobs since I was 19. Paid their mortgage when Dad's gambling caught up to him. Covered my sister's college tuition when she dropped out after 1 semester. I had been their lifeline. But now that I had something they could sink their claws into, they called me selfish. I looked my mother dead in the eye. "You came to collect at my husband's grave. You'll leave with nothing." Her lips curled into a smirk. "You think you can cut us off, Isabella? Families don't work that way. We'll get what's ours, one way or another." And that's when I knew they weren't just greedy. They were dangerous. I shut the door slowly, locking it as their voices rose outside. They had declared war. But the difference was, this time, I had nothing left to lose. And a woman with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous kind of all. The phone started ringing the very next morning. Blocked numbers. Unknown callers. When I picked up once, I heard my sister's voice. "Izzy, just sign over Mom and Dad's share. It's what he would have wanted. Don't make this harder." I almost laughed. What he would have wanted. My husband spent his last years begging me to finally cut them off, to stop bleeding myself dry for people who gave nothing back. She lowered her voice, sugary sweet. "Look, if you give us the money quietly, I'll make sure no one finds out about the other account." My blood turned cold. "What account?" I asked. But she hung up. That one sentence burned in my chest the whole day. Another account? Something they thought I didn't know? By nightfall, I was digging through papers, logins, anything I could remember from when my husband and I set things up. Hours passed. And then, I found it. A savings account. His. With my name added quietly years ago. He had been saving, secretly, for me and our son. Nearly $120,000 sitting untouched. Tears blurred my vision. He knew. He always knew my family would come like vultures one day. And he had left me a shield. That night, I whispered to his photo, "I'll use this wisely. I promise." The next morning, they showed up again, this time with an envelope. Inside was a printed letter. A lawyer's letter. They were suing me for breach of family obligation and withholding joint assets. I felt my knees buckle. They were going to drag me through court, through the mud, through hell, while my son still lay in recovery. But grief can turn into steel, if you let it. I folded the letter neatly, slid it back into the envelope, and smiled for the first time in weeks. If they wanted a war in court, they were going to get something much worse. I walked into the lawyer's office 2 days later. My hair pulled back, my black blazer crisp. Grief still clung to me, but beneath it, there was fire. The receptionist glanced at the envelope in my hand. "Family dispute," she guessed softly. I just nodded. Inside, the attorney listened as I poured everything out. The threats, the lawsuit, the settlement money, my sister's mysterious phone call. He leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. "Isabella, let me be clear. There is no such thing as a family obligation in the way they've described. They don't have a legal leg to stand on." Relief hit me like oxygen. But then he added, "That doesn't mean they won't try to smear you. We'll need to be ready." Smear me? That was their specialty. I could already imagine it. Whispers that I was greedy, cold-hearted, ungrateful. But this time, I had proof. I slid over a folder I had prepared the night before. Bank transfers. Texts where they admitted using my savings for my sister's modeling career. Receipts for the mortgage payments I had made on their house. He flipped through them, whistling under his breath. "You've basically funded their lives for over a decade." "Exactly," I said flatly. "And now they want to destroy mine." He tapped the desk. "We won't just defend. We'll counter. Fraud. Misuse of funds. Financial exploitation. They won't see it coming." For the first time in years, I felt power shift back into my hands. As I left the office, my phone buzzed. A message from my father. "Last chance. Sign over the money before we ruin you." I stared at it, then typed back 3 words. "See you soon." The fight was no longer about money. It was about dignity, about truth, about finally ending the chokehold they had on me. And deep down I knew, this court battle wouldn't just expose them. It would bury their perfect family image forever. The court date arrived faster than I expected. Walking into that marble-floored room, I felt the weight of every humiliation they'd piled on me since childhood. The whispered insults, the laughter, the "you'll never be enough." Now, for once, it was all going to be on record. They sat across the aisle, my parents, stiff in their press suits, my sister smug in designer heels I knew she hadn't paid for. My mother wouldn't even look at me. My father smirked, like victory was already his. But when the judge asked for opening statements, my attorney stood tall and precise. He began not with my settlement, but with their history. The financial exploitation. The mortgage payments in my name. The savings they drained. The grocery store, jokes at weddings while I quietly paid their bills. Every receipt flashed on the screen behind him. Gasps echoed. Even the judge's eyebrow arched. My mother's face drained of color. My father's smirk cracked. My sister clenched her fists, whispering furiously to their lawyer. When it was their turn, their attorney stumbled through excuses. Family contributions, informal agreements, mutual understanding. But the documents shredded every word. And then, my lawyer dropped the final piece, the $120,000 hidden account my husband had created. I explained how he'd quietly saved it, knowing one day my family would try to bleed me dry. My voice shook, but I didn't cry. "I didn't just lose my husband," I said, my eyes burning into theirs. "I lost the one person who protected me from you. But he left me the strength and the proof to end this now." Silence fell heavy. The judge leaned forward. "Based on evidence provided, the court sees clear financial abuse and exploitation. This case isn't about entitlement. It's about manipulation." My parents' lawyer tried to protest, but it was drowned out by the sound of the gavel striking. Dismissed. But this wasn't over, not for me, because I had one more move. A move that wouldn't just clear my name. It would rewrite my place in the family forever. The courthouse steps felt like a stage. Reporters weren't there for me, but for another case. Still, cameras lingered. And I let them. Because while my parents scrambled to cover their shame, I pulled out a folder. Inside, a press statement. Signed by me. Headline ready. Woman's family sues her for dead husband's settlement. Evidence reveals years of exploitation. I'd given copies to 2 reporters before my mother even reached the bottom step. By the time she did, microphones were already pointed at her. Mrs. Carter, did you really demand 50% of your daughter's settlement the week her husband died? Her mouth opened. Shut. Opened again. Dad shoved past, red-faced. No comment. But the questions followed them down the street like hungry wolves. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop. Friends. Neighbors. Old coworkers. We saw the story. We never knew. My family had always painted me as the failure, the burden, the stain. Now the world saw them for what they were. When my sister finally called, her voice was venom. You've ruined us, Isabella. No one wants to work with me now. Our friends won't even answer our calls. I let her rage. Then I said quietly, you did that yourselves. I just stopped cleaning up your mess. Click. The silence after was sweeter than any applause. I stood by my window, looking out at the night city lights. For the first time in years, I wasn't trembling. But deep inside, I knew this wasn't just revenge. This was a rebirth. And the final act, the one they'd never see coming, was still waiting. The fallout spread like wildfire. By the end of the week, my parents' friends had vanished. The same people who used to toast them at weddings, laugh at their jokes, and mock me behind my back, now avoided them like a sickness. My sister's modeling contacts? Gone. One by one, contracts pulled out, citing bad publicity and reputation risk. Her face, once all over social media, was suddenly absent from every campaign. Meanwhile, I was building something. Quietly, steadily. The insurance settlement, combined with my husband's hidden savings, wasn't just survival money. It was seed money. I invested, carefully, real estate, tech startups, medical research in his honor. Within months, the returns began to grow. And word spread, not about their greed, but about my strength. One morning, I got a message from a university dean. We'd like you to speak at our finance and resilience seminar. Your story is inspiring. My story, not theirs. Mine. When I walked onto that stage, hundreds of faces watched me, not with pity, but respect. My voice didn't shake. My grief didn't define me. My choices did. And as I spoke, I realized something. Revenge wasn't about destroying them. It was about becoming untouchable. Back home, I found another envelope shoved under my door. My parents' handwriting. Please, let's talk. We've lost everything. We can't survive without you. I sat on my porch, the waves crashing in the distance, reading their desperate words. For the first time, I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel pain. I felt free. Because I knew exactly what tomorrow's move would be. The one that would seal my peace forever. I met them at the cafe, they suggested. Neutral ground, public, safe. They arrived early, faces pale, clothes wrinkled, eyes desperate. Dad spoke first. Isabella, we were wrong. We should have supported you. We need your help now. Mom's voice cracked. We're losing the house. We can't pay the debts. Please, just a little. I stirred my coffee slowly. Let the silence stretch. Then I placed a folder on the table. Inside were documents. Legal. Final. Here's what I can give you, I said evenly. Not money. Not another sacrifice. But the truth. They glanced down. Deeds. Titles. Every asset I'd purchased. My name. My son's name. Nothing theirs. You're no longer my responsibility, I whispered. You made that choice when you said my husband's death didn't matter. Their eyes brimmed with tears. But I didn't feel cruelty, only clarity. I stood, sliding my chair back. The entire cafe had gone quiet. People watched. Judged. As I walked toward the door, I paused. Looked back once. You taught me what family should be. For that, I'll always remember you. But my life belongs to me now. And I left them there alone, cornered by their own greed, staring at the reflection of everything they lost. Outside, the air felt lighter. My son's laughter, waiting at home, was the only sound I needed. It wasn't revenge that fueled me anymore. It was peace. And that peace was permanent.